Hello. Hello again. Thank you for joining us for the second panel of the day. Before we start, let me just remind you one important topic that was raised here by our team. When you visit the booths, you can either click on the button register interest, but we highly recommend that you rather write in the chat box right there. That's important for the members of the firms that are hosting the booth to see you and start interacting with you. We know some people is already fully booked for the morning, which is good. So just keep on with your exchanges. That's what we are here for. Right now, we will introduce our new panelists. We want to explore with the new panelists that we have here, actually 3 women. This is quite rare in private equity. I'm glad we made it. We want to explore the evolution of private equity job profiles over time in Luxembourg in particular. So to start with, I ask you to introduce yourself briefly so that everyone knows who you are, what you do, and then we go straight to some of the questions and points we have here for you. I'll follow my screen. Hind, can we start with you?
Thank you, Luis. So hello, everyone. I'm Hind El Gaidi. I work at Astorg, which is a private equity house, or what we would call a GP in the private equity world. We are in Luxembourg here since 6 years now, and we have a team of around 30 people. So that includes all what we would call the corporate functions for a GP. So we cover the full value chain of functions, and our teams from the investment side are located in Paris, London, New York, Frankfurt, and Milan. And I'm very glad to be here today. Thank you for the invitation. And I'll hand over to Christine.
Okay. Thank you, Hindel. Similar to Hindel, I also work for a GP, an investment firm called Atypical Partners. Again, we are mainly back office, but through to the changes in the regulations, Luxembourg is being more dominated as well into risk and analysis functions. I'm mainly in charge for everything related to funds. So I'm a finance manager. As a background, I come from a Big Four. I have a service provider experience and coming from Belgium and Germany. I give the word to Sade.
Thanks, Christine. So my name is Sade Taylor. I work for Sign Group, originally from South Africa. I've been here for 3 years. I'm senior manager for the corporate accounting and real estate team here in Luxembourg. I come from an external audit background. I've since moved back into accounting. And yeah, I'm excited to be part of this panel today.
Thank you very much. I think that was a very clear view, and it's quite diverse of the type of profiles we have in Luxembourg. First question, do you think there has been an evolution in the private equity profiles in Luxembourg? Anyone willing to take the bet here?
I'll take the lead. As I said already in the introduction, Luxembourg is evolving. Brexit, of course, has had the last couple of years a huge impact, but already over the last years, Luxembourg is a dominant player in the finance industry. Looking back to when I came in 2013 to Luxembourg, investment firms were small back office, small rooms, small teams. We remain small teams, but definitely the teams are getting larger over the last 8 to 9 years. I think Sade can as well elaborate perhaps a bit more on the service provider side on this.
I think, typically speaking, by way of an evolution of a job profile, historically we were seeing a demand for individuals with high technical capabilities. whereas now we're seeing this evolution towards incorporation of soft skills. You can hire the best fit on paper for a position by way of technical skills. And that person can come into an organization, particularly at a managerial level, not have the soft skills, and they can actually do more harm for an organization than good. So in Little Luxembourg, you could be working in an office of 18 people with 12 different nationalities. So we're looking for people who are able to deal with the challenges associated with diversity. Luxembourg is a great place to work in that sense, but you really need to be conscious of the different intricacies associated with the different nationalities. So I think soft skills, diversity skills, and actually selling skills as well. I think this is typically something that wasn't associated with the financial services industry. You're a back office, these things aren't necessary. But with the salary costs going up at the rate that they are, clients applying increasing pressure, they're becoming far more price sensitive. We actually need to be onboarding individuals with selling skills who are able to upsell our services, and that will ensure continued viability of our businesses.
Going a bit back to what you were saying in the beginning about the size of the teams, I think there are two markets in Luxembourg. At least that's my view. So you have the managers market, which usually operate in small teams of 5, 10, 15 people. I don't know, Hind, how many are you there in the office, or Christine, but I'm sure you are small teams. And then we have the advisors, the what we call the service providers of the industry, the fund administrators, the advisors, the legal counsels, and those come from teams of 30, 50, 200, 500 people. Are these two very different realities today in the market still? From the perspective of working there?
To me, it goes in hand because it's part of the same ecosystem. Let's say if we go with the intention to ramp up the type of profiles we want to have in the office here, meaning that we want to have the deal making here, that we want to have the marketing here, etc., we would need service providers that offer this kind of services as well. So we would need that ecosystem to also be supportive, sophisticated, understanding of our needs. So that's in the one hand. And on the other hand, that also creates your source of hiring, right? Because a lot of people, I mean, Christine, myself also come both from Big Four. That's where that's also the origin of the profiles that you are looking for within Luxembourg before maybe going and hiring outside of Luxembourg. And there also we see that there is a definite need of a complete shift in perspective and in way of, let's say, apprehending the job. Because today, if we are looking for, let's say, mid-senior people, with very interesting profiles or let's say job descriptions, we always find ourselves hitting a wall. Because on the one hand, if you go there, or the answer is, I want a front office job. So before us explaining what's in the job description, we already get the answer that I want a front office job. Or on the other hand, there is just this idea of I want to go in-house because it's more laid back. And so again, we haven't explained what's in the job. So there is no common understanding today between, I feel, us, at least that's my personal experience nowadays, and the markets around us in one way. So we need to kind of make an even level playing field to ensure that everyone gets what they need, because we can have this dream of saying we want this kind of profiles, but if we are not able to source the talent, if we are not able to find it, then we will probably have to make a decision to find it somewhere else. I
think those front office positions you are saying in the end of the day are just the visible top part of the iceberg.
Yeah.
There's a huge community underneath, doing all type of functions. So if we see more and more of those, visible parts of the icebergs in Luxembourg, at least that's what we want to see more in the future, because that shows a complete market. How can we prepare people, or how can we attract people to go either directly to those functions or to grow internally through the other more middle and back office functions? How can we prepare people for those new skills, for those new roles that they can play in the industry?
If I can take this question, coming from a Big Four, then having a service provider experience, then going in-house, the way I see an investment firm is a wide range. Just doing, if you want to go in-house, there's always more the recommendation to first see all the different functions. Have experience from a Big Four is bringing a lot of value to your own growth, to how you see the finance industry. Working in a service provider industry with Chardet, for example, at Sun, the way how I do my job day to day now, I cannot do it without service providers. So there's a huge, I understand your point of view of having, you see two different industries, service provider and investment firms, but those two go really hand in hand together. So for me, really, it has been a really rich experience personally to have this wide range of jobs that I had in the past years. And I think it goes as well for Hinder.
And ladies, I have a question for you, as we have a women panel today. We have a private equity for women club, and it's often that we discuss different challenges that women face in the financial sector. And my question would be this: we hear a lot that it might be quite difficult to move up, and that people experience a lot that a lot is awaited from women, and sometimes maybe even more from women than men. So my question would be, do you really feel that? And do you have an experience in overcoming these kind of challenges in your work?
I can take this question. From my perspective, we still have a way to go, although we've walked a long road already. What I love about SON is the inclusive corporate culture, especially as regards to women servicing the different functions. I think, typically speaking, people have this opinion that it's men, first and foremost, who prevent women from progressing in their careers. My experience personally, if you work with men who are strong leaders, who are confident in their abilities, they are not going to be barriers to your progression. And in terms of when you're interviewing for a position, you're looking for teammates, and you're looking for managers with that same sort of mindset. The irony is that at various stages during my career progression, it's actually been women more so who have provided those sort of barriers to me progressing in my career. And I think it's more of a mindset, in the sense you've got to be working, like I say, with strong leaders who are confident in their abilities, and then you see those barriers falling away.
Good point. Let me remind everyone that you can also intervene in this panel by asking questions here in the stage chat. Don't hesitate to write comments or questions to our panelists.
I join maybe Chardet in what she mentioned, just to crystallize what she's saying, meaning that you have to do your due diligence before getting in at an employer. Make sure that those are the values that you're looking for. Make sure that that's the team you want to belong to. Because in the end, you see that is the competence that matters, and all the rest is noise. If you don't focus on that, then yeah, you indeed will find yourself every day having to deal with some kind of drama story that you could very well do without, to be honest. So it sounds a little bit too easy, but that's the reality.
And if I can add to this point, I believe it's as well with limiting beliefs. A lot of women say, I cannot combine family life, I cannot combine a brilliant career. Yes, you can. I believe you can.
I think, if I can just add one more thing, is in Luxembourg, I think because paternal leave is being taken by both men and women, it almost removes the stigma associated with employing women in their childbearing years. So it's a very real, although it's an unspoken mindset at times, when you have women in their childbearing years interviewing for positions, there's always that concern that you're going to take them on and they're going to be off shortly after you've employed them for a significant period of time. And considering that both men and women are doing that, it certainly levels the playing field a lot more for us in that sense.
And as we mentioned, family, just a quick question. Do you think that working in financial sector in general, it's possible with all the overwork that it requires? Is it possible to actually combine well the time that you spend with your family and kids and, and the time you spend at work?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's no question. And we have the chance to be in Luxembourg, which is maybe for most who are in Luxembourg is limited commuting time, as opposed to Paris or London or what have you. It's again going to that limited belief, because that's just part of the of who you are, and it makes you actually make clear priorities also on what am I gonna be spending my time when I'm in the office, and on the time you will spend at home being absolutely free time dedicated to your family. So I would encourage everyone to not stop having a family just because you want to get to a certain position.
Certainly. What about training? Christine, I think we met a year and a half ago in a private equity module from the Sacred Heart University. How important is training and the gaining of new skills in this career that you can have in private equity, going from position to position over time? How important is training, and how can people take these trainings in Luxembourg or abroad? What would you recommend if you're willing to hire someone? What would you look for in terms of preparation?
In terms of preparation, when I'm interviewing for new colleagues or from past jobs where I was more actively recruiting than now, hence a smaller team currently, I was really looking for somebody who is really eager to learn. He doesn't necessarily need to have all the competencies, but just the drive, the personal drive to evolve and understand what are you working on, with who you are working, understand the different functions and learn. That was always something I really was looking for, because not necessarily you can come to a job 9 to 5, the classical model, you do what needs to be done, but the fact that you're eager, that you try to understand how you can collaborate with colleagues better, etc., really makes a difference in teamwork as well. One point that Charlotte said, soft skills, teamwork, it's all very important. That's as well one of the reasons why I started with the MBA, which I'm now finishing. That's where we met Luis in the private equity model. Employers can offer training, but I think it's really related to the personality of the individual employee to really say, I want this training. some bigger firms, they offer. With Deloitte, I had a huge and amazing experience and learnings on a weekly basis. Going in-house, it's a bit less, although my employer offers me any financial support or any time off to participate in House of Training in Luxembourg. You have the MBA in private equity. University of Luxembourg also offers private equity and asset management courses, and there's a wide range in Luxembourg. And if you want to go ahead in our industry, I truly believe there is a need for you as a person to have this drive to continue your own development, because our industry is quite intense in terms of working hours, and we want to make priorities, as Hinda said, in terms of what is work, what is family life. You need to as well have a personal drive to focus.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in Luxembourg, the trainers of these courses, these MBAs, they're also in a very much very many situations also practitioners of the industry. That I believe also makes a difference.
Absolutely. Just speaking about the private equity course that we did together, the two professors, one had his own company in the independent directorships in Luxembourg, and the other person was working for the European Investment Bank. So these are professionals with very high level of experience and skills that I found amazing. But then professors who as well from other universities, on an academic level, they also have a huge, wide range of international exposure. Because Luxembourg is more than this small country, it's a huge range of nationalities.
What was the last course that you took?
My last course that I took was with a venture capitalist who was teaching on advanced corporate finance in terms of valuations of investments, etc. So the advanced level, which was he's also a professor in France, one of the major business schools in France. So he's, if I'm not mistaken, Morgan Stanley asset management experience. He's now a VC. So, yeah.
Chardin, when you recruit, you probably look for this, hard skills as well, the training. Do you think we are well served with this kind of training in Luxembourg? Do you recommend any international place, international school or training center to do this? Or you just like the diversity and want people to come with trainings from different locations and backgrounds? What do you look for?
I think just by nature of its population size, the talent pool in the financial services industry in Luxembourg is somewhat limited. And this is why we're seeing this influx of the various different nationalities. I think we need to be careful. I think very often job profiles are tailored towards, we only want individuals who have these prestigious qualifications that come from these prestigious firms. In and of themselves, these are indeed top tier qualifications and firms. But when you're looking at a marketplace like Luxembourg, these firms are some of the biggest employers in the industry. Whoever you work with at some point during their career, more often than not, is going to have rotated through one of these firms. And what I'm saying is, don't negate everybody else because you're only looking for this particular profile. I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice there. And certainly what you're looking to hire is an attitude, because that is something that you either do or you don't have. Technical skills can be learned, specifically on the job. We find very often people coming in with a very strong technical skill set on paper struggle the most to apply that knowledge technically. So I think we just need to be very careful by way of looking for a well-rounded individual, and to a certain extent is setting these stigmatisms aside.
Yeah. And I can fully support what Charlie said. I come from a Big Four, but for me, it's not necessarily that is important. An employee who comes from a Big Four should, in my view, not necessarily have a step forward to somebody else from other smaller firms. We all choose our path, and there might be a particular reason why this person did not choose for a Big Four or chose for a smaller firm to get their first experience.
And I think we have an interesting question from a lady, and she's asking about gaps in between of work experience, which I think is quite usual. And the reason for her particular question is the maternity leave. So how do you see this gap in employment when the person doesn't work for 1-2 years? Is it seen as a lack of interest for the job, or is it understandable from a perspective of employer?
I can take this one. In general, we hire people. I mean, either they had a gap, or they would start and go maternity leave, or what have you. I mean, there are kind of a variety of scenarios that can take place there. And although you are very tempted to look at this gap, but what you're looking for is, again, that person, everything that we've been saying since we started this panel. That person with the intellectual curiosity, that person with the soft skills you need, that individual who gonna help you, develop that function within your company. Having taken time to raise your family doesn't make you less ambitious or less intelligent or anything like that. It's just part of life. So it shouldn't be a discarding factor. Now, there are, let's say, bonus points sometimes with the fact that you see a person has taken the time to take care of their family, indeed, but have taken maybe a side hobby, or have attended certain things which are not necessarily related to the job, but you can see actually this intellectual curiosity at play in the persons and in their personality. And for me, that's actually a great way to see what kind of person you have in front of you. Because I mean, there are moments in life. There is not only maternity; it can be also a parent being sick. It can be a tough moment in the family. So we don't have to stigmatize it around only that topic. Anything, we are all people, and a lot of things can happen. So you just want to make sure that you have a person with the right values and with the right level of commitment. So that's the toughest to answer to me. It's not anything about gap years.
I think as long as it can be properly motivated, if you're seeing in conjunction with that on the CV that they're changing in and out of different professions, they aren't staying in any particular job for a long period of time at all, I think those are more red flags. But like you say, Hinde, that can be properly motivated. It's not necessarily a red flag in and of itself.
Yeah.
We're almost reaching our time. I would like to ask you, say, a final question. Well, we are always trying to position Luxembourg as an European and global hub for private equity, and therefore we also expose ourselves for foreign-based professionals to come to Luxembourg and work in Luxembourg. So, is Luxembourg attractive for foreign professionals to continue their career in Luxembourg? We're speaking here for a more, let's say, experienced type of profile that would like to pursue its own private equity career. Is Luxembourg an attractive location to continue?
I want to add something there.
I think so, yes. I think definitely with the changing regulations that are currently going, and I'm only expecting it to increase even further. I think yes. Also for my own career, I I would see myself further evolving, how I see Luxembourg evolving. I think there's definitely, we don't necessarily need to say, oh, we're going to London or Paris to even go if we would want to go for front office. Things are moving in Luxembourg, and especially a higher range of profiles for experienced employees as well.
I just think it's also have a bit more time, Harish. I think there's this massive drive in these high-cost jurisdictions to move the lower level inputting and processing work to low-cost jurisdictions, and that's sort of how the business model has changed over time. So definitely in Luxembourg, we're seeing, as we say, these high-skilled posts with a strong sort of soft skills component. So for people who have that balance, who are able to strike it correctly, I think that this is potentially one of the best places in the world to advance your career, and it can happen incredibly quickly if you have and you're able to grow and develop those skills ever further.
Any comments? Just before you say something, in the end of this session, you can click on the link shared by our colleague Michaela here with a video of a recent interview with Hint, where you can know more about their background and their work. Hint, is Luxembourg attractive for private equity professionals moving to Luxembourg?
Yeah, I think we have to go away from that stigma. And if, of course, when we are not active in Luxembourg and we don't work too much with Luxembourg, we don't have clearly an idea of the type of profiles, the type of work. So first, a lot of time is just ignorance, because people have not had that, let's say, question of how is it there. Now, if we speak about attractiveness, looking at it from a professional perspective, there are a lot of opportunities. Having said that, I think there is still a little bit of work of trying to find the actual opportunity, the real opportunity, because sometimes it sounds like an opportunity, but it's not the reality. That happens also in other jurisdictions, not only Luxembourg. And then the other side of attractiveness is more the family life. And that's very personal. You can't say it's attractive to everyone. So that depends on what the people are looking for. If you have certain criteria for your family life, either you have kids or not, depending on the lifestyle you're seeking, I find that you can still cater for quite a bit in Luxembourg and also around, because it's so small that you can travel actually not very easily. So all in all, yes, it's attractive. You can it doesn't take you away from the kind of a European or even a global career progression.
Well, we've been receiving here some interesting questions, diverse. It's quite hard to take them all. One that popped up in my eyes is: are we expecting to see any particular change in the near future? We just had Brexit. We know that it somehow impacted different parts of the finance industry in Luxembourg. Will we see any particular change in the next in the near future, or will it be just continuous growth as we have been seeing until now? Short comments.
But if I have to bet on it, we have our continuous growth, because most of the GPs or LPs are growing in volume. So that follows the growth of the industry in general. And then we see also diversification in profiles, as Christine alluded to at the very beginning, because there is a regulation that drives the type of profile, but also this can also come from a strong desire of certain players to say, I'm going to create a hub in Luxembourg. And it's not because I want only to have substance according to the regulation. So I think those are the drivers.
Okay, our time is up. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Good day. Bye-bye.